Hi. I haven't been doing any YouTube videos lately because I've kind of been unmotivated to do videos because I've been busy trying to get my gardens ready for the spring and pulling weeds and just babying my babies here at home. But about 3 weeks ago, I had made a Facebook post about some elephant ears that I had started planting. And I think I confused a lot of people because we're not quite ready for winter or summer yet to where we can put them in the ground. And I didn't really explain myself that well. And so I ended up with a lot of questions about what did I do exactly. And basically, what I had done was every year at the end of the season, we dig up all of our elephant ears, and I have a bunch of them that I store in the basement. And I just get them out and I soak them in water and I get them to where they're nice and kind of moist so that I can then pre plant them into some dirt. And this is one that I pulled out of the dirt that I pre-planted. And when I say that, I just go around and I find containers that I can put elephant ears in so that I can put them in the ground once the weather is appropriate. And the reason why I soak them first is because it helps get them moist to where they start rooting. And these that I placed in the dirt, you can see where, some of this is old roots from last year, but you can see that they're trying to come alive again. In fact, none of them had any green on them at all, but because I put them in here, this one's kind of hard to come out because it's taken root pretty good, but I want to pull it out anyways. But look at all the new roots. That's all new roots and an ear is trying to come up on one that I just planted 3 weeks ago in any and every container I could possibly find. In fact, you can see on this container, I make sure I have holes in it, but you can see that there's some others that are trying to come up as well, right there. So that's why I put them in any container available to me so that I can, once they go into the ground, they don't take as long. Think about it. It's taken 3 weeks to get this much in the house. Now, granted, they grow faster when they're in the ground and they get a lot bigger, but the reality is one of the things that attracts me to elephant ears is their long or big foliage. I mean, like this is a philodendron, and you see how big the leaves are here. But I just really like the great big leaves on the elephant ears. In fact, so much so that every year I try to treat myself to a couple new varieties of stuff. And this year, just last weekend, I bought this elephant ear bulb. You can see that I have been soaking it in water. I had some rainwater and I soaked it in it. And I'm getting ready to place that. I'm going to show you the process I went through. I'm going to do this. It's real easy. But this is going to be one that's going to stay in a container. And this one is a black elephant bulb. And that means the ear is going to be black. Kind of looks purpley black. And I'm going to actually plant this in a container today, in a container that it will stay in. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because evidently, if you plant multiple varieties of elephant ears together, it picks up the color of the dominant one. And unfortunately for me, I didn't know that. I mean, there's all sorts of learning curves in everything that we do. And I had bought a ton of bulbs, mojitos, black, some spotted ones. Probably a dozen varieties of elephant ears, and I had 2 rows. The back row was my great big ones that I had planted every year from digging them up in the fall, and then the front row I put all them baby bulbs. Well, guess what? They all turned green because they take on the dominant trait, which is many huge green ones as I had. Of course they did that. So I'm going to plant this separate, and because I don't want it to lose its color, the black color, I'm going to plant it in a fun planter. I had a lady friend of mine give me this wonderful enamel pan, and I love red and white, and this one's black, and so I thought, how appropriate. I'm going to put my black this way. You know how you always remember what you have in something until you need to remember, especially when you plant a lot of different things. I thought, well, this would be a way for me to remember what color bulb was in here is because it has the black rim. And so basically this is what I did. This is the process that I did for all these in these containers. They are not going to stay in those containers. I filled all my containers as full as I could with elephant ear bulbs. And a couple of things I want to point out to you is the bulb has two sides. Here's another one that I bought last weekend. Look at how massive that is. This bulb here cost me $17, and this one right here cost me $20. So imagine how much money I have in bulbs, because this planter right here has more than a dozen in it. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other planters full of bulbs that I dig up every year. And I would say a majority of them are the size of this black one, and I plant all of them in the ground. But this year it's going to be different, because even though I love how massive they are, I just dropped it. Even though I love how massive they are when they grow in the ground, because that's how they're going to get the biggest, because they can develop great root system. Just anything grows in the better in the ground. It's just Mother Nature. But I'm still going to plant this one in a container because I don't want to lose that black. I can't stress that enough. So what I would do is I would put a little bit of dirt in the container, like I did in this one. Put a little bit of dirt in. And the others that I planned to put in the ground, I just shoved it full of elephant ears, and then I put more dirt on top. But on this one, I'm just going to put this one in. I'll put it right in there. And then I'm going to fill it with more soil. And I'm actually, because I got that elephant ear to peek out on me already, I'm actually going to cover it to right above that. That way it develops a really good, stable environment to grow as tall as it possibly can. So I'm hitting it as deep in this container as I can, even though it's going to take it a little bit longer to peek out. But that's okay, because I'm patient. I want it to be beautiful and stable, because there's been a few times I haven't planted things deep enough and it's bit me in the ass later. And so, you know what they say, live and learn, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. And I do not put any type of top dressing on anything that's not succulent related. Every now and then, if I have a little bit of extra mulch, I'll put a little bit of that on there. But I haven't even begun mulching yet, so I don't have that. But basically, I filled it up. You probably are not going to see it, but there is a little tip of the bulb coming out right there. And so I will put this somewhere that it's going to get south sun. Here on my porch today, we're in the west, and most of these plants are shade plants, so I'm not going to hesitate to keep them on the porch all summer. In fact, that's actually been my goal. But what I am going to do is bring out a lot more plants. And then I have another area where my neighbor had put in a new fence a couple years ago, and I've got this basically for all half of a box of his fence that I always thought would make a pretty good backdrop for some nicer plants that are shade friendly. And I have a monstera, and I'm actually going to put my elephant ear out there too, one of them. But that's another point that I need to bring up, is elephant ears are shade friendly. A lot of plants are shade friendly, but as with any plant that are shade friendly, they do better if they have sun. So my elephant ears have a tendency to get a little bit bigger, because even though they're over here on the other side of the porch, it also faces south. So I've got west on one section and south on the other. And so that combo, I end up having good elephant ears there. But I also plan to have some back in the back where it actually is south. And then over here in Laura's garden, last year I started one section of elephant ears, and they did fabulous there. In fact, I don't think I'm going to put irises, or I can't remember the bulb, but there's another bulb that I had to plant. I don't think I'm going to put those back out there this year, because I enjoy the elephant ears a lot better. And so I'm going to continue with that. But something else I wanted to show you. I had a couple of people tell me that they had planted elephant bulbs and they never came up. And what I imagined might have happened is that they disintegrated. But I also, after I thought about this, and as I was catching myself when I was trying to get ready for today, something hit me that I had forgotten that I didn't know back in the early days of planting these bulbs. And that is, the elephant ear bulb has two ends. The top that the plant is going to come out, you can see here, now that I know more about plants, I recognize that this is where the bulb is going to come out, and then the bottom section. But they're not always so flush. So if you put this elephant ear in the ground and you don't know what you're doing, hence me, the first year I planted them, I would plant them upside down. And by the time they turned enough to get to where they were supposed to be, they would disintegrate. They weren't going to do any good. And there was a couple times it was really, really close, so I would lay them on the side, because in my little mind, I was thinking if I lay them on the side and it's wrong, they only have to turn half as much, and that started working. Well, and then as I started saving my elephant ears year after year, digging them up, it became very apparent to me to which side is the top. So if you are unsure, take a picture, send it to me in Messenger, and I'm going to tell you, because that was a real struggle for me in the beginning. And I'm suspecting that that might be what a couple of my friends have been telling me about when theirs didn't come up. And another thing, I've kind of bounced around here because it's been a while since I've done a video, and I'm very sorry about that. My nerves have been high. I've had nothing but technical difficulties even trying to get the computer to work. Password protection sucks some days. But anyways, I've bounced around in my thoughts, and so I'm going to kind of back up and reiterate everything that I just said, okay, or everything that I should have said. In the fall, you dig these up, you clean them off, you cut off the leaves, and then I dispose of the leaves by feeding them to my worms because I have a worm farm. I also leave some of them on the ground because there's so many leaves to dispose of that I put some of them on the ground right where the elephant ears was pulled out of the ground so that they disintegrate right there, because I'm going to put them back there next year because that's just where I absolutely love them. And then I kind of add to different places too. So you pull them out of the ground, you take off the tops, you store them in your basement in a cool, dry place. All winter long. Never had a problem. Some people like to put them in peat moss. Some people like to put them in a brown sack. I've put a 5-gallon bucket in the basement before and had no problems. There was nothing on it. But I made sure that they were dry before I stuck them in that bucket so there'd be no molding. So fast forward to spring. We are going to get ready to get our plants ready. A very wise woman down the street told me to take and soak my elephant ears in water, or plant them, if not both, before it was time to put them in the ground so that they would root faster. Okay, last year I did not plant my bulbs fast enough. I literally soaked them for half a day while I was prepping the area to plant them, and I planted them. I did not pre-plant them in the house because I had run out of space. And I realized that was a huge mistake on my part, because by the time the elephant ears become the beautiful plant that we all know and love, then, half the summer's gone. Half the summer that spot was bare, and I depend on that to be part of my landscape design. So this year I wasn't going to have any of that nonsense, and I was going to do it right. So I literally, anything out that had dirt that we put holes in, put dirt, layered the elephant ear bulbs facing the right direction as I just discussed, covered it more with dirt, and then I've been watering with rainwater and worm compost. And I water them every week. Fast forward 3 weeks, you can see that I have roots and ears coming out. This is a smaller one, so that's probably why it did so well. My bigger ones are towards the bottom. I'm not going to dig them out. and then you just, when you're ready to prep your ground, all you have to do is take them out of your container and put them in the ground, and you've got a good start. Now, it has been 3 weeks, so today I plan to take them out back to the south side of my house, and I'm going to let them stay outside. However, I do have sheets that I will go ahead and cover them with so that they don't get cold at night, because at this stage, I like to keep them watered well. At least once a week. Now that they're outside and they're going to be in the wind and the sun, I'll probably end up doing it 2 or 3 times a week. And so I will protect them. Now, if you don't have a south side of the area that you would want to put them on, don't let that stop you, because you can put them anywhere. That just is where I'm going to do it, because I feel like the more sun that they can get before I put them in the ground, the faster they're going to come up. That's just me trying to make the smartest decision I can for the fastest growth rate in my mind. So anyways, we'll see how that goes this year. And hopefully, with any luck at all, this one, because it is green, I am going to plant it. You got to see this. So I had this friend of mine clean out his shed, and he gave me this picture, and it's got a base to it, or actually a top to it. And I got the top out back with something else in it. but I've never had anything in this part of it. And I'm like, I don't know if I want this big ass elephant in there or not, because this thing's going to be mammoth and I'm probably going to want it in the ground so it can really shine. But because I want to go ahead and give it a fast start, I've been soaking it this past week. It's not going to have as good a start as these guys 3 weeks ahead, but I am going to put it in here. It's awful big. I mean, it's practically as tall as the container. Look at that. So, yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to keep it in here. But I can have fun with it until I get my ground ready. I mean, it's always fun to have some plants that are in pots coming up even before the ground is ready. So you can make, if you have a dinner party, I mean, does anybody have dinner parties anymore? I'm thinking that I need to start doing that more frequently because I'm always like, if you have company over, you can move this plant out back here. It'd be so cute. Or let's just have a fire pit and a barbecue and say we invited friends and, just call each other friends. I don't know. I mean, people actually do that these days. I mean, seriously, I'm starting to think that. Anyways, enough of my rambling. I'm just really excited for spring to be here. I mean, I just want to come outside and play with all of the dirt in the ground and get all the mulching done and the weeds pulled. And I just want to come out here and sit down and have tea and watch the traffic drive by and people honk and wave, because sometimes they do that when they see that I'm outside. That's one of the beauties of small town Kansas. Sit outside and enjoy your porch, even with loud traffic sometimes. But anyways, I really hope that this might have cleared up some confusion. I hope you enjoyed my front porch with me, one of my favorite spots in my entire home, even though it is outside. And I appreciate you actually making it to the end of the video. And I realize it's been several weeks since I've done this, but if you enjoyed it, please subscribe. I plan to do some walking tours of some of my outside gardens. I've got some pretty spunky things going on out back, and I'm thrilled to maybe get to the point where I can actually show you guys that. You have a good end of your weekend, and thanks.